I would like to focus on certain key aspects of this topic, and for that, uh, I would begin with some historical perspective, and then take you into the real theme. The world has been beset with many hierarchies, like the racism that you find in modern Americans, which is not to be found in many of the Islamic countries. Or you see the Indian society right from medieval ages ridden by caste hierarchies, which is not to be found so much in Europe. And there are so many such divides and so many such hierarchies, I can tell you, which exist in certain geographies, in certain communities, in certain cultures, but do not exist everywhere on the planet. However, there is one hierarchy, one divide, which exists universally across all the geographies, all the cultures, all the communities, all the nations, and that is the gender divide. And it is a hierarchy in the sense that men have always succeeded in getting the better deal over the women. This is a universal and most unfortunate hierarchy and divide in the human history, because it is almost throughout the human history, right from the agricultural revolution. If it is so universal, how the technology sphere can escape this bias? And that is the point of our discussion today. In order to understand what is the origin of this gender bias in technology, we have to go a little into the historic perspective. And that is, we know even in communist China, when they talk so much about equality, when the Chinese Communist Party decided that every couple will bear only one child, millions and millions of female feticide took place. And they saw to it that the female child, either in the womb or after birth, has to be killed, so that they can prove that they need one more child. And till such time a boy is born, they would do that. This is a very, very violent history. Not only this, but the female feticide is there in many communities in India as well, and we know that. Why this happens? What is the perspective of looking at women in all the societies across the world? You know, it is never, none of the cultures ever gave an independent individual status to women in the past. Women were treated as a private property, either of the father or the brother or the husband, and so on. So once you look at something as a commodity, as a property, then naturally most of the other things would follow logically. For example, if a woman is raped, you know, who is the victim? The one whose property has been raped, not the individual who has been raped, because it is not an individual at all. So what is the compensation? Compensation is a penalty to be paid to the owner rather than to the victim, because the owner is the victim. Look at another thing, the marital rape. You will be surprised that marital rape was considered to be an absurd proposition, because it is equated to, how can you steal your own wallet? So how can you rape your own wife? Because wife is the property, so the wife is almost equivalent to a wallet. And therefore, the question is absurd about marital rape. So much so that even the progressed, developed countries like Germany took to the year 1997 to make marital rape a legal concept. So, to offer the legal status or legal category to marital rape, it took 1997 for Germany. And even today, there are more than 50 countries on this planet who do not consider marital rape as a legal category of injustice. I'm specifically mentioning Germany because in two world wars, the women have performed almost all roles in that country, and still it took 1997. Once you consider that the women as a private property, not an individual, the question of giving voting rights does not arise. As a result, you see, even in countries like Switzerland, the voting rights to the women came in the decade of 70s. There is a conceptual difference. And once that conceptual difference is, captured by all of you, you will get a clarity of what is the way forward. The conceptual clarity is to look at sex versus gender. We normally confuse these two words, sex versus gender. What is sex? It is actually a biological entity. Humans are males or females. The males have XY chromosomes and the females have XX chromosomes. The females have a womb, they have ovaries, they have very little testosterone and very high levels of estrogen hormone, and they can produce milk because they can give birth to the child because they have womb. Now, a male automatically becomes a man and a female automatically becomes a woman, whereas man and woman are genders. They are not sexes. Meaning thereby that man and woman are cultural concepts and not biological. Of male is ascribed all those cultural attributes of manhood, and they convert the male into man, irrespective of whether he has all those attributes which are culturally derived. And the same case with female to woman. A biological reality was transformed into some kind of pervert human imagination, which created the so-called oppressive definition of womanhood and repressive definition of manhood. This happens because there is a cultural, pervert concept which has gone in, that a born female becomes a woman and is therefore not an individual, is a property. So much so that today, even in our technology field, there is a concept of electronic citizen, and it has been given voting rights. Look at that. But at that same time, there exists some countries on the planet who do not give voting rights to women. So this is the contradiction which I would like to bring before you. Now, what has happened? Now, when the female had a, XX chromosome, she still possesses XX. But a woman was illiterate, now she is literate. A female had a womb, she also possesses a womb today. But previously she was denied voting rights, today she is given voting rights. Previously, she had ovaries as a female and she still has ovaries as a female. Previously, she was not legally independent. She belonged to somebody as a property. Today, she is legally independent. Previously, she had less testosterone, and today also she as a female has less testosterone. But previously, she was not able to pursue certain professions. Today, she is able to pursue the professions. Previously, also she had lots of estrogen. Today, also she as a female has estrogen. Previously, she could not decide whom to marry. Today, she is able to decide with whom to marry. So what is the difference between a female and a woman? The entity called female has remained invariant because it is biological. An entity called woman has undergone tremendous transformations because it is culture. So the recipe is that if you want to remove the gender bias, you have to change culture. And the recipe to change culture was only through education. And that is where the concept of integral education is important. Because those who are engaged in pursuit of integral education will never teach biology independent of the history and the culture. When you are teaching sex organs or the reproductive system, you should not confine only to the discussion of male and female, but you should engage also in the debate about the history of gender along with the discussion on sex. You have to also engage in the discussion on the culture, which created this entity purely out of human imagination. There are theories as to why this happened. Like one is a muscle power theory. The men had strength and stamina over the women. That has been completely belied because women are doing so many works of strength and stamina across the planet. They have been exploited for that. Go to any agricultural, farm and see what kind of toil of strength and stamina the women are doing. There are obtained number of evidences that can be produced. Second theory was that of aggressiveness, that men are aggressive. And that theory also has so many contradictions and that has been disproved. Third theory is that of the patriarchal genes. Patriarchal genes means in the process of evolution, the men have tended towards more of masculinity for ambitiousness to get to a right female, competitiveness to get to impregnate a right female, a fertile female, and things like that. These are funny theories which have come and engaged the scholars for decades together. All of them have been, belied. You can see the seminal work done by Yuval Noah Harari on Sapiens, and you will see the proofs how they have been disproved. These theories have been disproved. So the important aspect is therefore integral education. Now, as far as the information technology goes, the careers in technology, which require certain attributes, which require certain aptitudes, which require certain attitudes, which require certain passions, which require certain capabilities, and which require some match with the societal needs of the contemporary world. The discussion about removing gender bias in technology is not just pertinent from the justice to the women. It is not just merely a justice issue. What is the more fundamental reason for us to discuss and engage with this topic is that, especially in the third decade of the 21st century, the 21st year of the 21st century, we see that the more and more the technology is creating a new world. And if the technology is creating new world, and if there is a gender bias in technology, then naturally it will create a new world full of bias. If we bring women in the mainstream of technology development, naturally the world that will be created will be not just smart, but will be wise. We are so much obsessed with the word smart, smart, smart in technology that we forget the wisdom part of it, which is a complementary important part of it. The world is beset to create artificial intelligence, but as I work in the field, we know that artificial intelligence cannot do the things of intrinsic human intelligence, and intrinsic human intelligence cannot do the work of artificial intelligence. I've written exhaustively on this. There are technological reasons as well as there are neuropsychological and neurophysiological reasons for this, but that is not the important aspect of our today's discussion. So these two intelligences are complementary to each other. Artificial intelligence is not our enemy. It is not our adversary. It is not our opponent. Neither it is our competitor. It can be our best and enduring partner. So the partnership between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is the future. Albert Einstein, while all these artificial intelligence was in a very, very nascent stage, once said that computers are fast, accurate, but stupid. Human beings are slow, inaccurate, but intelligent. The two together can do incredible things. Okay, so he is also suggesting way back in 1945, the partnership between two incredible powers. One is incredibly fast, accurate, but stupid. Another is incredibly slow, inaccurate, but intelligent. And the two can do incredible things. Now, those incredible things have to be, welfare oriented, well-being oriented, and therefore there has to be an element of wisdom, not just intelligence. So smart plus wise, and that agenda we have to bring.